Hey, Tanya here. I wanted to come and just give you your Sunday inspiration, something for you to chew on as you go into the work week. And this video is all about why you should not shrink yourself to fit your circumstance. Let me explain. And I want to first start off with this quote or this poem by Jesse B. Rittenhouse. And this is what it says. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. Life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Now, let me explain that poem. So it says, I work for a menial's hire, meaning low grade, not requiring much skill, minimum, low status routine. That's what it means, right? At the very bottom. And then he goes on to say that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Now, I want to take it a step further and add the Most High to this equation, to add God to this equation. It says that life would have given me what I've asked. Because the Most High tells us, if we seek, we shall find. If we ask, it shall be given. And if we knock, the door will be open. And then some would argue and say, well, this is the hand that I was dealt. This circumstance is upon me. This is my life. This is the hand that I was dealt. And what I say to that is, well, play your hand. Play your hand until you win. And I want you to think about this. Think back, or maybe you still play cards. I know I used to. I don't play cards anymore. Nothing against playing card games. But just think back when you played cards. I don't care if it was Uno or if it was a game of spades. You played that game. You had your hand. And say if you had a losing hand, normally we'll play with a partner, but say y'all got a losing hand. You don't want to just give up because you are losing the game or because you lost the game. You want to keep playing the game until you win. And I mentioned those two games because I mentioned those two card games because those are the two card games that I know. Okay, so you keep playing until you win. You don't want to just stop. Oh, well, I lost this hand. That's it. No, you want to keep playing until you win. So why then in life, when we reach a certain status or we reach a certain place in our life, that we decide to settle based on the premise of that this is enough? We're real quick to say, this is enough. I know because I almost did that because it felt too hard to rise to the occasion, to rise above the circumstance. We've all been there. You know, we can convince ourselves that I'm all right, I'm okay, this is fine, this is good enough. We can convince ourselves of that until all that bitterness and anger begins to rise to the surface. When we look at other people and we see how well they're doing and they're going for their dreams and they're living this dream life, and then we find ourselves in this dark place, in this sad place, this resentful place, this hateful place, even sometimes, if we're not careful. Nothing's wrong with being content, because I know there's an argument, hey, well, be content. There's nothing wrong with being content, being grateful for where you are and what you have. But being complacent or becoming complacent is something totally different. I read this post the other day that said, you're miserable because your subconscious knows that you should be or could be doing better. Would you agree with that? that you're miserable or you're unhappy because somewhere on the inside of you, you know that you could be doing better or that you could be doing more. Let me say that you could be doing more. You could be more, you could have more, you could be better, you could be doing better. Then there are those that will say, well, things could be worse. Absolutely. That goes without saying. Things could be worse. But I also believe that things could be better. Now, the fact that things could be better does not give us free range or permission to complain. You know, God doesn't like a lot of murmuring and complaining. But you ask for what you want. You seek for what you want, and it shall be given. So instead of looking on the dark side of things could be worse, let's look on the bright side that things could be better because they can be better. Because so many times we shrink ourselves or we give in to our situation or our circumstance. Now, by no means am I telling you to ignore where you are. You have to acknowledge where you are and then recognize that this is not where I want to be, and then change your situation. You don't have to shrink and say, well, this is my life. This is um, all I'm ever going to be. You know how we can get stuck. We can get complacent in a place and we feel like, well, this is all there is to me. This is all I'm ever going to be. No, you can always rise above your situation. We can always rise above the situation and get what we want out of life. So I encourage you today to not shrink yourself to your situation or your circumstance, no matter what circumstance you may find yourself in. Don't shrink yourself. Don't get in that mindset and say, well, it is what it is. Yes, acknowledge that this is what it is, but also remind yourself that if you are in this situation, you can get yourself out of this situation. You don't have to accept it as your fate. You don't have to give in to it and just, go on about your way, and be willing to seek out a solution for whatever the situation you find yourself in. If it's an undesirable situation, be willing to seek a solution to solve that problem for yourself. So I encourage you today to not shrink yourself to your circumstance, but instead acknowledge it and then decide where you want to go from there. Rise above. I hope this helps. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all notifications. I'm Tanya. Be blessed. I'll talk to you soon.